Okay, for those of you in certain states, let me try not to mention any state assembly. You would know why this is of issue. Because one of the things I've always contended is, look, if we get it right in the legislature, we'll get it right in the executive, and we would have no option. Because in the Constitution, going by the listing, the legislature always comes before the executive. And that is why when the president or the governor goes to the House of Assembly or the legislature, he bows before the Senate. It is only out of respect that the president of the Senate or the Speaker of the House will curtsy or bow or whatever before any governor, not as a form of duty. It is the duty of the governor to bow before the mace, which is right, or usually placed before the Speaker in the House of Assembly. So, separation of powers is a hallowed constitutional principle of a democratic government, and particularly of Nigeria. And for the three arms of government to stay in their assigned tasks to avoid arbitrary excesses by any of the arms. So the ideal is that the legislature makes the law, the executive, of course, executes the law, and where there is contention, the judiciary interprets the law. So what has been happening in the state houses of assembly in some states in the nation is troublesome. It's concerning for a number of people. So let's have conversations this morning with two gentlemen. One of them we'll begin with now. He is his Babashola Uwaje, who is with us in the studio. He's a politician and actually contested to be a member of a House of Assembly. You hear the details as we go on. Good morning, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
As I said, we'll still have the other guest join us. So, Mr. Waje, again, thank you for joining us. At some point, a good number of Nigerians, particularly young people, will be wondering, you hear this is happening in this state, that is happening in that state, and both of them, the tales are not similar, but it all concerns the State House of Assembly, which is supposedly representative of the people, which means whatever they do or say represents what the people in their constituencies ask them to do. Is that the sense you get?
Well, with what has been happening, when we talk about State House of Assemblies and separation of power, especially at this particular point, we know that some State House of Assemblies are not getting it right. And when you look at it, it's more or less obvious that the people in the House in the first place are not speaking on behalf of the people. You see a situation whereby decisions are being made and they are being reversed, and you start to wonder if it's actually the people that they represent that sent them to do all of the things they are doing there. So at this stage, you begin to wonder.
Is it possible to separate politics or politicking from governance? Because it would seem like political dynamics has kind of come to play in some of the cases.
So after elections, we move into governance,
Unexpectedly.
Well, that's what should be the norm.
Okay.
And when you look at what's going on, you see a lot of political interference in governance. What this does is that it slows down the wheels of governance, and it also goes to show that you can never really distinguish politics and governance, especially in Nigeria and a lot of states.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Mr. Sunusi Musa also joins us this morning. He joins us virtually. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us this morning, Mr. Musa.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
The issues must be concerning for you as well, even though the ones we're hearing of are more in the southern part of the country. But it is something that is of concern in various parts of the country as well. There is good reason to believe in some quarters that the governors in a good number of states have, quote unquote, pocketed the state houses of assembly. Do you see the state houses of assembly in Nigeria as being as independent as they ought to be?
Well, you see, sometimes there is not really a clear-cut answer to such issues, because if you say the State House of Assembly are pocketed by the governors, then you now have to look at it why. Look, the system is such a way that, one, we have to understand that nobody is expecting the State Houses of Assembly to be fighting with the governor. That is not it. Okay. Then the second thing is, what is the expectation of the public from the members of the State Houses of Assembly? Is, of course, in ideal situation, is just for them to make laws, to approve the budget, you know, all those other things. But then today, you expect your legislature to come and start building what they call constituency project, not the one that is done generally by the state. You expect him to be dishing out largesse. Like now we are in Ramadan, each member of the State House of Assembly will have to distribute at least a trailer of rice. And I know when it is Christmas, there's something, New Year, there's something, naming ceremony, you want them to donate, wedding, it is them, burial, it is them. All right, how do they get this money? They have to befriend the governor, because it is when the governor patronizes them, they can be able to do all those things.
Wow.
So the issue is, if a legislature decides to say, no, I will just do my legislative duty of making laws, believe you me, he will not be re-elected next time. That is it. So, and if he said that, okay, look, what this governor is doing is unconstitutional, and I must fight it and stop it, you will see that from his party, he may not even get a ticket. So it is a system that we have, that if something is be done, it's not just for us to blame those who are elected as members of the State Houses of Assembly. They are members of the general society. They cannot live in isolation. They are not an island. They live within the society. They need acceptability within the society. So they must behave in such a way that the society will accept them. And unfortunately, you see that even those you call the elites, that is, those that ought to know, you see them praising legislators for influencing employment of one person or another, for influencing appointment of one person or the other. What does that tell you? That employment is no more based on merit. Appointment is no more based on merit. It's based on patronization. So how do you expect a legislator who wants his people to be patronized now to start being independent of what the executive do? Certainly, it's not possible. He must do things in such a way that he will reconcile his constitutional duty as legislator and how he will remain acceptable to the people, so that he will get re-election, because politicians are office seekers. So whatever they do, they always have back in mind that how to get that office back.
Well, I'm a little bit fuddled, Mr. Musa, because, I mean, you are saying what many may or may not know to be true. But it's the constitutionality or otherwise of these things that we should be looking at. As to what you have painted, true as they may be, borders a good number, a chunk of the way on the merits of whoever is in office. If patronizing is one way to go, then governance will suffer, don't you think?
Well, see, some of those things you have to really try to reconcile them. While legislators are elected to represent various constituencies, the governor has the entire state as his constituency. It's just like Nigeria. The president is a president of Nigeria, and the entire country is his constituency. He derives his legitimacy from the vote of Nigerians all over the country.
But he is not.
A senator or a member of House of Reps.
It's a. Just a second, Mr. Musa. The president has Nigeria, almost 200 million people thereabout, as his constituency. So do the senators. So do the members of the House of Representatives. In the same thing in the states, the governor has one constituency, but the House of Assembly has a lot more than one. That is the reason that the legislature is listed before the executive. So constitutionally speaking, it will seem like we're devolving the authority to patronizing the people in office, as opposed to doing what the Constitution itself says, because by the time they are done distributing 1 trailer of cows, 1 trailer of rice, and all of those things, where's the money to perform governance?
Well, look, when we are talking of enthroning good governance in the country, it is not the duty of one person. It is the duty of the public, the masses. It is my duty, it is your duty, it is the duty of the media. So I always laugh when people say that the legislatures have been pocketed by the governor. If the legislatures are pocketed by the governor, what of you, the people? Because the Constitution has provided, has addressed all these issues. The Constitution has made provision for recall of legislators who are not performing their duty. That is for the public to do. The Constitution has given power to the legislators to remove a governor who is not performing his duty. So what I'm saying, if the legislature, if truly the people feel the governor is not doing what he's supposed to do constitutionally, and the legislature have refused to impeach him as provided by the Constitution, the people are given the power to also recall all the legislators. Simple. So the issue now is, are the people doing their own part of the journey for good governance? No. So why will we now shift the blame to some others? Let us all be in the blame. But all this I'm saying is just theoretical, because as far as I'm concerned, you cannot say the entire 36 states of the Federation are not run according to the Constitution. There is presumption of regularity. Of course, if you have 1 or 2 isolation here and there that will show that there is a problem, fine, we can discuss that. But we have to have it in mind, the premise of the Constitution never envisaged a situation whereby the governor will be assent. That is why provision with respect to impeachment, it says gross misconduct. In other words, it's not any misconduct that will lead to removing governor from office.
Well, you know,
such misconduct must be gross.
How then, my apologies, Mr. Musa.
So many examples of what is gross misconduct.
So in this case, we're not even talking about the governors. We're talking about the state houses of assembly themselves. I mean, look at what's happened in Lagos, and what's happening in Lagos, and what's happening in Rivers State, for instance. Now, these are 2 houses of assembly. And I'm wondering what you make of the 2. Are there similarities? Are there differences that you want to look at as examples of what may be happening in other houses of assembly in the country?
Okay, now, what happened let's start with Rivers. Me and you have seen it where the members clearly announced that they have decamped to APC from PDP. To the extent that the national chairman of PDP wrote a letter to INEC requesting that elections should be conducted because those seats are vacant. Now, from nowhere, they decide they have seen the unconstitutional. They realize the unconstitutionality of what they have done. They now say they have rescinded their decision. Okay, the issue now, the question is it possible after you have clearly said you have decamped, which by that decampment you have now stand to lose your seat? Can you now come back and say that, no, I have rescinded that decision, or that I have never decamped? Because that's what they said, and no evidence was laid before the court to show that they decamped, actually. Now, something illegal. The members of the State House of Assembly decided to impeach the speaker, so they said. But for me, let me say remove the speaker, because the Constitution used the word removal. They removed the speaker. Now they elected a new speaker. That speaker now has decided to relinquish that mandate given to her by her colleagues. The other members, if they like, the removed speaker is still qualified to contest, and if they find him worthy, they can still re-elect him to come back and continue being the new speaker. Now, for the Rivers State House of Assembly, since now the Supreme Court has given a judgment that they remain the members of the State House of Assembly, that is the law as it is. But now, the issue now is the honor of those people sitting in the House of Assembly. People that have clearly said that we are no more members of the party on which platform we are, we got elected into office. Now, because they realize that they are going to lose their seat, they say, no, we did not say so. Okay. It's for the people to now decide whether that appendage given to them of honorable, whether they are honorable enough.
Okay.
But since the Supreme Court has said that, what else can you do?
Okay.
But, you know, we just have to understand one thing. Politics is not about law. Politics is evolving, it's dynamic. There are so many things that will make legislators to take a political decision. So such decision sometimes may not be apparently
Mr. Musa, we'll come to the politics of it, because it's really very interesting. We'll come to the politics of it in a bit. But
yeah.
Mr. Waji, what is your take, particularly those two examples? From what Mr. Musa has surmised is both houses of assembly capitulated on initial decisions. So, but what do you make of that?
Well, there is what the Constitution says, then there is the way Nigerians or Nigerian politicians interpret it. There are two different things. Ideally, we shouldn't have those 27 members, in the House of Assembly in Rivers State again, because it was clear they did rallies, they wrote letters, and these
But the Supreme Court said there was no evidence. That means whatever evidence they had never really existed.
So it's painful on the eyes, especially for Nigerians that are not in government, that are not part of this governance. You see something and right in front of you, it's changed. But it's the Supreme Court, and their decision is more or less final. So kudos to them. They played, and I think they got away with it. When you come to Lagos,
no, Mr. Oje,
yes.
Oje, is it not obvious to which party a person belongs by, what meetings he attends, for instance? If they call an APC party, and this person who says, oh, no, it's not true, I didn't say that I had defected, and he is at the APC meeting, isn't that enough evidence that he has defected?
We're saying the same thing, because we saw rallies, we saw videos, we saw letters, at different instances. But now, they still come out and say they never defected. It's baffling. It's confusing.
Did they just threaten to defect?
It wasn't a threat. Okay. It wasn't a threat.
They
actually defected. But it's the Nigerian political landscape. It's very, like you said, it's very dynamic. It's very confusing.
Sometimes murky.
Very murky. Not sometimes. It's always murky. It's just a situation whereby things like this discourage younger people to come into politics. Because he said, are you honorable enough? Because people in the House of Assembly are called honorables. So do you call yourself an honorable and you do all of this in the eyes of the world? Because these videos are there. The internet never forgets. They would, even after they are long gone from the face of the earth, these videos will still be there, that there are some people that defected and they came back to claim that they never defected. And you see videos contrary to that effect, and you see a Supreme Court judgment that supports what they said. It's sad, you know, but the verdict of the Supreme Court is final in this case.
Okay.
So I think we can move on from that.
Okay.
It has happened, and, you know, kudos to the people of Rivers. There's not much they can do.
But you wanted to cite the example of Lagos earlier.
For Lagos State, it was just, it's equally sad. You know, we had a speaker that was duly removed by the majority of the House. It was clear for all to see. And we saw the hand of Esau in play. And it was obvious that powers that were not in the House, you know, made decisions on their behalf and reinstated the removed speaker. I don't see the independence, you know, of the State House of Assembly in Lagos State. But it's obvious, you know, because we started to hear arms of government that are not in the Constitution. They say there's a GAC that made decisions on behalf of the people that were duly elected by people in their various constituents. I don't know how they go back and tell their constituencies, you know, the decisions they made when it was obvious that they didn't make those decisions themselves.
Just a second on that. I know Alora has a question for Mr. Usa, but just on that very quickly. Yeah. One of the statements that we heard is that no politician today in the country has gotten into office without a political party. And there is usually this statement about party supremacy. So whatever decision is made, whenever there is a political brouhaha in any environment, particularly in a democratic setting, the party finds a way to step in and take a decision. Maybe that is the basis of the drama.
I agree, but the decision had been made already. Why ridicule the people in the House of Assembly? When the former female speaker, you know, when she came into office, we saw videos of her being celebrated by members of staff, by her colleagues, you know, there were prayers and all of that. And when the current speaker came back from America and, you know, his security details were reinstated to him and he came to the House of Assembly, it was very obvious that his colleagues saw the writings on the wall, because we saw clips of them not being able to do anything. You know, some of the lawmakers were crying. It was not a situation where you have to cry. Things, you know, decisions were meant to be made, and when they made those decisions, you know, it was obvious that would I call it a knee-jerk reaction, because that Madam Speaker was in her house for 49, she was Speaker for 49 days, you know. So it was obvious that, you know, maybe they didn't consult well in their party. Are we going to say there were cracks, you know, in the party hierarchy? Because for them to have taken the decision initially, someone would have given the go-ahead. So what now happened at the end? So it's just, I mean, it's the political situation that that is not palatable, especially to us, the watchers, you know, from outside.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Musa, fortunately, you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. It seems that a lot of these things are happening because of the involvement of the judiciary and the decisions being taken by the judiciary. What is your take?
Well, you know, the judiciary is performing its duties conferred on it by conferred on it by section 6 of the Constitution. And I think we should understand that there is difference between having an evidence in the public and difference with having an evidence before a court of law. So the fact that there is evidence in court of public opinion, as long as that evidence is not presented before the court of law, the court of law cannot give judgment based on what the judges or the judge hears from news or from his friends or from reading newspapers. He has to work based on the evidence that is presented before the judiciary. Of course, I'm not saying that the judiciary is free of some of the allegations that are being made. And it is also very serious for the judiciary to look at those things, because the judiciary cannot afford to close its eyes to what the public are saying about it. The perception of the public is very, very important. But that does not mean the judiciary will be reaching decision based on public sentiment. No, certainly no. Where there are no evidence before the judiciary, of course, you don't expect a judge or a quorum of judges or justices to give judgment based on public opinion. Certainly no. And the judiciary will always have to play a role, more especially in democratic settings, particularly in democracies like Africa, where the politicians who are expected to be statesmen are not playing the game as statesmen. Because there are things that, if you are a statesman, once an allegation is made, because of their position and because of the fact of the honor of the office you are holding, to serve the honor of that office, even if that allegation is not correct, you should step aside for a proper investigation to be done so that the truth can be said. And if these people are statesmen who are elected by the people, they should be reaching decision based on what they know is the opinion, the interest of the state, not the interest of some few people. So when these things are not there, you will see decisions that sometimes that will conflict with the Constitution or with the common sense. Then you have to run to the court. But if you go to the court, it is duty of both parties to be diligent in prosecuting their case and presenting the evidences that should be presented before a court of law.
Okay.
Where any side refuses to present evidence that ought to present and start saying everything is in the public opinion, the court cannot give you judgment based on public opinion. And I want to you read this issue of party supremacy. I think we should try to understand the concept of party supremacy under parliamentary system of government and under presidential system. The presidential system we borrow from America. The parties are just like vehicle for winning election. Once after the election, more or less, you see the parties have no any role to play in governance. But not like in the parliamentary system of government. Let me cite the Indian example for you, where it is the parties that are voted and the parties now nominate who to represent particular constituency. In places like India, whenever decision is going to be taken by the parliament, the party, each party will now announce its own position on that issue. And any member of that party in the parliament that went to the house and vote contrary to the position of his party, the party will write to the speaker to declare his seat vacant. We don't have that in our constitution. So supremacy of the party in a presidential system is more of a theory. The practical aspect of the supremacy of party is a parliamentary system of government.
Okay, so the issue you raised the other time, Mr. Owaje, well, that's some enlightenment. But the issue you raised earlier about making this whole thing, interesting or exciting for young people is a concern, isn't it? So what would be your counsel? You have contested to be a speaker, to be a member of the House of Assembly before. So what would be your counsel to young people who are finding this whole drama quite dramatic indeed?
The drama is dramatic.
I think we shouldn't. I would advise and counsel that we shouldn't relent. Okay. It's very important that we get into politics and we get in early. The moment we begin to raise our voices where it matters, I believe the change can happen, especially from within. We have people in these parties that, in Lagos, we hear things like Baba Sokwe, that local parlance. But if more of us get into politics, we should be able to influence the way these decisions are being made. It will not happen overnight. But
well, it's been 20-something years now.
We'll keep trying.
This overnight is a very, very long one. Your parting shot,
we'll keep trying.
Mr. Musa.
Just before you go to his parting shot,
okay.
And talking about young people, do you not see it also as something that the young people have to do to impress upon them the job of lawmakers? It is not to be distributing rice and distributing cows, like he said earlier.
Yeah. So there's expectation and there's reality. The expectation of a lawmaker is to formulate the laws and, ensure that the executive are carrying out the laws accordingly, scrutinize the budget and all of that. But the reality of a lawmaker is to ensure that his people back home get the dividends of democracy from the executive.
Which includes rice.
And cow.
Well, Mr. Musa, your parting shot, 20 seconds.
Well, I think in this run for good governance and enthronement of good governance in our country, it is all our duty, the duty of the young people, the middle age like us, and the old people. What we need is not about age; it's about that. It's about having the honor to do the right thing.
Okay.
And like he said, the young people should not relent; they should join and participate. No, politics is very important, and all of us must be active to ensure that, because it is the only vehicle that you can enthrone good governance in our country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time this morning. At least now we know that part of the dividends of democracy is rice and cow. Sunusi Musa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, you started that. Thank you so much for your time. And I think with Baba Shala Uwaje's comment as well, the eyes have it. Baba Shala Uwaje is a politician and a contestant for the State House of Assembly in Lagos. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
When we return, it's International Women's Day today. More on that when we return.